Welcome back to my channel, Sunshine Shoulders. I'm Calvin. Thank y'all so much for stopping by. Truly grateful. She said she would never date a black American again. And I understand. You know, on my live stream, we cover a variety of topics. I may have one topic, but we'll talk about everything. The conversation's all over the place. And we were talking about, we were unhappy with our choices of women in America. You know, it mostly centered around their attitudes. And you know, some more choice stuff we were saying. But anyway, a black woman got into the conversation, and you say, well, how do you know she was black? I really don't know. I can't see the people, but I take on her word. She says, I agree with everything you men have to say. That's why I'll never date another African American man again. I'm dating a man from Ghana, and I'm happy. Now, you know, before anybody starts with the foolishness, because I know how y'all are, I know my audience, you could substitute black man for white man, Asian man, Hispanic, Latino, Mexican, whatever it is. Because in America, you know, we're grown from the same soil. We're brought up drinking the same Kool-Aid, basically, especially when it comes to relationships. But why this was so profound is because of a survey. You know, the more I thought about it, I was like, wow, I couldn't get it out of my mind. So I started looking it up. Well, the U.S. Census in 2000, they did a study from 2000 to 2021. And in 2000, 97% of black women were married to black men. See, fast forward to 2021, it was 93%, so it held true. 92% of black men were married to black women in 2000. In 2021, about 85%. So no matter how you want to manipulate them numbers and look at it, you know, 85% of black men were married to black women. You know, we're no different than any other race when it comes to that. We want to date somebody of our own race, of our own nationality, of our own culture, and everything like that. And this is why I always get a lot of pushback when I tell guys, I say, look, Filipino women, they really prefer Filipino men. They don't prefer you. You know, circumstances warrant them to go outside of their race for whatever reason. But they don't prefer white men. They don't prefer anybody but Filipino men. And I believe, if you look at the Philippine Statistics Association, it'll bear this out. I believe 97% of Filipino women in this last census were married to Filipino men. And that's on any given year. Only a very small percentage were married outside their race. And I guarantee you, if you check white women, Latino women, whatever it is, it's going to bear this out. So I found that profound, because, you know, black women want black men. So for her to say that, it must be a problem. Well, the problem she has with us is the same problem we have with them. Remember, we're grown from the same soil, ladies and gentlemen. We have more in common than what we want to admit. But it all centers around attitude. And then the internet. And then the fact that for a black woman, the numbers are dwindling even further than they already were. If you're a black woman in America, 1 out of 12 of you are going to have to marry outside your race if you want to get married. And you see the numbers are declining because in 2000, 92% of black men were married to black women. Now it's only 85%. And for different reasons, okay? But the numbers are getting even smaller. So I can understand why she is looking outside of America. It makes good sense to me. A lot of guys were pushing back. They were angry. But the same unrealistic expectations that we claim that black women have about us, we have about them. And then you watching these videos, you seeing all this freaky stuff, your expectations have gotten even worse. But it really centers around our attitudes. We have the same old entitled, messed up attitudes that they have. So when she said she'll never date another black man or white man, American, or, Hispanic or Latino, I understood exactly what she's saying. But let's just start right here. Remember when I told you that Americans, we only make up about 4% of the Earth's population. Give or take, about 4%. So if you split that in the middle, all things being equal, 2% of the women are here in America. 98% are outside of America. Okay, so now that means 2% of the men are here. But black men only make up 13% of the population in America. So now she has something like 0.15% of men to choose from. This is another reason I understand. This is what I always say when people say, well, why did you go in the Philippines? Well, it's not just for a woman, but whatever I'm looking for is probably outside of this small little dot that I've been existing on. But we can just start right there. Her selection is so small and it's getting even smaller. But then we have the same old messed up, unrealistic expectations. See, we really don't understand each other, American men and women. No one ever taught me the art of dating. My father never told me how to go out and meet a woman. It was always based off physical attraction and nothing else. One thing I got wrong, and I see other people get wrong, because we repeat this stuff over and over and over until it becomes the truth, is that women, their number one thing that they look for in a man is security. That's not true. I'm going to put a link in here. Actually, I'm going to put two links about two things I'm going to talk about. It's not security. A woman, when she meets a man, the number one thing she looks for first is commitment, ladies and gentlemen, before she lays down with you and has children. She wants to know your level of commitment. Is he going to be supportive in the event of a potentially difficult pregnancy? Is he going to be here to help me feed and grow this new human being? Because women alone are responsible for that. You can push back all you want. This is what evolutionary biologists who know a whole lot more about it than me or you say. So that's what she's looking for. And see, men, we've caught on to that. And we've got good at faking commitment just to get in her underwear, just for the booty. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. There's something called the Red Queen effect. That's your assignment for the day. Look this up. It's just a hypothesis put forward by evolutionary biologists that says a species has to constantly adapt, evolve, and multiply, okay, to stay relevant when he's pitted against an opposing species. And, in America, men look at women, women look at men as the opposing species. And they give the example of the cheetah. And the cheetah wants to get faster so he could eat the gazelle. Well, the gazelle wants to get faster so they won't get eaten. And it keeps going on and on and on till they reach their limits. Well, most women, in their desire to find a man who's committed, they want to train you. And they become better and better at training, and we become better and better to evade the training. We don't want to be trained, but so we're good with faking commitments. So, and this is way beyond my lane, my pay grade. That's why I put the link in there. But it has a lot to do with, we don't understand each other, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about physical attraction. And we play these games back and forth. And it doesn't work. So people who are fortunate enough to find a relationship where the commitment is there and the man is getting the booty and you put that together, then you can stay together. But once one of those things, goes astray, then it all falls apart. But then something else that, I'm just going to talk about my America, my experience here in black women. They want, a man that's a godly man, they'll say. They want you in church 2 or 3 times a week. But see, the reality doesn't bear witness to that. A Pew survey, and that's going to be in here, because there was a paper done by a gentleman, I believe his name is Gregory Gates. But anyway, he wrote a paper, and he quoted a Pew survey that says, male attendance in church is declining across America, period. Certainly in the black community, where the black population is the largest ethnicity of people who have been to a place of worship. Well, he says when you look in the black community, upwards of 80% of black men don't go to a physical church or online church. Okay, but before y'all go crazy, of that 80% who don't go to church, online or offline, 80% say that they're religious or that they have a higher power. But this is another problem. They want you in church. I had that problem. If they're Catholic, they want you to study Catholic. She loves church. She wants you to love church. And men just have stopped going to church. This is the unrealistic expectation. And most of the problems are eventually going to end up in the bedroom because of this religious stuff. Jesus is watching in that bedroom. And men, we want the booty, okay? And then, like I said, with the advent of the internet, and you got all these videos out here showing men out in the world, and got these women who are cooperative, and they're doing everything that, they ask the women to do. Now they want that. They expect that out of the woman over here. So we got some crazy expectations too, because she's saying, you're not supposed to put it there. That doesn't go in my mouth. Okay, let's be honest, guys. Okay, so when she said, I'll never date another African-American man before, or a white man, or Mexican, Hispanic, whatever it is, Latino, I understood. Because it's exactly why I'll never date another American woman. Doesn't matter what her color is. It all centers around her attitude. She's not going to do the things that I expect. Are my expectations unrealistic? I guess it depends on who you're talking to. If I can go out in the world and have my expectations met, then they're not unrealistic, are they? So thank y'all so much for stopping by. I just like to start the conversation. Okay? I understand why this woman doesn't want to deal with men over here. If I was in her shoes, I'd probably think the same thing, because I am in her shoes. I've walked in her shoes before. I'm grown from the same soil. I drink the same Kool-Aid. I'm indoctrinated the same way she is. We've got that same old entitled attitude. Nobody's going to bend. Certainly not going to break. We're just not going to cooperate. We're going to continue to be these opposing forces. So if you're watching this and you're fortunate enough to find an American woman or American man, and you can make that commitment and that sex work, I applaud you. But the numbers are saying that less and less black men are being patient. We're looking around, we're looking at our options. And she understands that. So she said, okay, I'm going to look at my options too, because my options are smaller than yours. So if you're in America, if you're in the Philippines, wherever you are, find your heart to help somebody. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not an evolutionary biologist, but I'm interested in why people do the things we do. why we act the way we act. I've always been that way. So I read this stuff. And I want you to read it. But I understand that woman 100%. Why she won't date another African American man. I can imagine being my daughter right now, 22 years old. And what these guys are seeing on the internet and who their heroes are. And trying to find them, trying to weed through all of that mess to find a decent man. They're out there. But some women just give up. There's good women here, but I gave up. Find it in your heart to help somebody. It's not a day goes by that I don't help somebody. Even these grown-ass men over here, guys. I keep saying that because every day I see more and more grown men of all races over here with the signs, man. What's going on over here? Have we given up? What's up, man? Really? Is it that bad over here? I help them anyway, man, because if I don't know anything else, I know this one thing for sure. When we help other people, we help ourselves. Take care. Stay safe, stay out of trouble. I'll see you next time. Don't do anything stupid. Stop putting women down because they want to look outside their race and they want to exercise their options. They're doing the exact same thing you're doing. You were grown out of the same soil. You drank the same damn Kool-Aid, man. Okay? You were indoctrinated the same way. You have the same unrealistic expectations they have. The same entitled attitude that they have. It all boils down to attitude.